My name is Sean Basinski, and I'm the director of the Street Vendor Project here at the Urban Justice Center. The mindset is that vendors are a problem, that they're a nuisance, that they're an issue that is negatively affecting people's quality of life. Of course, we think just the opposite, that vendors are a resource and they're a positive effect on people who live here and visit here, but the police department thinks that they're a problem. I sold burritos on 52nd Street and Park Avenue for the summer before law school. So, that was the summer that Giuliani tried to close down 150 some blocks to vendors. At the Street Vendor Project, we represent and organize street vendors here in New York City, obviously. Vendors are mostly immigrants from many different countries, really from all over the world. We also have a population of native-born folks who are U.S. military veterans. But be they immigrants or veterans, they are almost all people of color, mostly men, but some women too. And they sell food and merchandise on our streets from tables or carts or trucks. There's about 10 or 15,000 of these people who survive this way in New York City every day. Just an amazing amount of enforcement that's directed at street vendors in New York City, and most of it's done by the police. Many vendors come here once a month with tickets or other problems that they've received, and so being a street vendor in New York City, you receive very frequent visits from the police, no matter where you are. Some places are worse than others. We can start with the arrests, because that's certainly the most serious things that happen to vendors. About 7,000 vendors are arrested every year here in New York City. Usually they're arrested for the crime, the crime of unlicensed vending. Of course, the only reason that vendors vend without licenses is because the city won't give them licenses. There's a 15 or 20-year waiting list, and so people would love to have licenses and they just can't get them. It's not just arrests, though. There's also about 40,000 tickets are written to vendors here every year. Sometimes for the criminal court, the summons part, and sometimes for a sort of unusual tribunal called the ECB, the Environmental Control Board. The tickets, though, are for all kinds of little things. There's many rules that apply to vendors having to do with their business. So where they are, for example, got to be 10 feet away from the crosswalk, 20 feet away from any building entrance. You have to visibly display your license, and so if you have it in your pocket, because you forgot to take it out that day, or for whatever reason, that's a violation. If you're a food vendor and you have like boxes or a cooler that's next to your cart, it's not actually in or under the cart. If you're not displaying your prices, if you're vending in a bus stop, if you're vending on the wrong street, you get the idea. There's a million little things, and even though they seem maybe to you and me to be minor, the ticketing is just really pervasive, and you won't get very far, especially in some neighborhoods. If you're violating any of these rules, the police will come and give you a ticket for it. The penalties for these tickets are very severe. In fact, they can be as high as $1,000 for one ticket. And so every day we have vendors coming into our office because they've gotten tickets, and it's just a daily occurrence. Often, ironically enough, or interestingly enough, vendors are able to help the police because they're out there every day, and so they know what's going on the street. And so, of course, you got the famous case of the Times Square bomber, who was spotted by a street vendor. But even more recently, we had a guy that was talking in our meeting 2 days ago about he got a letter from the Cy Vance, the DA, commending him on catching a robber. Somebody had snuck into the newsstand next to him and grabbed a bunch of money while the newsstand operator took a break. And Derek, a big guy, a U.S. military veteran, grabbed him and put him in a headlock until the police were able to come. This happens quite a bit, and we've tried to ask the police to, instead of seeing vendors as a problem, to see them as potential partners, because vendors are out there. They know who's selling drugs or or what's going on in their neighborhoods, because they have no choice but to be, when you're on the street every day. Some of our vendors are friendly with their local officers, when they've been able to have a positive, or when they've been able to help the officers. But that's, the truth is that's pretty rare. The police just don't tend to see vendors as an asset; they see them as a problem.